In this video, we are going to use Spaceclaim to do some CAD modeling on this part here. This part was 3D scanned using a Creaform HandySCAN 3D scanner. We did all the processing in the Creaform VX elements to give us the file as you see here, but you can see it's a scan file. We've decimated it. That makes it more of an intelligent STL file in the sense that it's more optimized. So for example, we've got larger triangles out here and then tighter triangles in all the corners. Now, the problem with scan data is it's not CAD data. This is just a dumb model. And the other thing you'll notice is this is a manufactured part, and this is a cast part, and so it's not something you're going to be able to use. And being a manufactured part, there's a lot of imperfections in it. As the tooling gets old and worn out, it starts to become apparent on a big part like this. Usually these parts are cast and then all the final machining is done, so it's kind of a rough near net shape anyways. So, but let's get started and we will talk some more as we go along. So the first step in the process is always to look at your part and determine kind of how you want to model it. It's always good to kind of figure out a plan ahead of time before you get into it. Now, if you look at this part, it's kind of interesting in the sense that we've kind of got levels to it. So we've got one, kind of two, three levels on the back here. And on the front, we have one, two, maybe you could argue 1, 2, 3 for sure, plus, these walls here. So it can't be just driven in one sketch. You're either going to have to sketch each level and kind of merge them, or I think the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to start with the main outside shape and then chop away at it. I just think that might be easier. So let's get started. We're going to go into top view. We're going to go into our sketch mode. And what I'm going to do is rotate it, and I can basically pull this plane out. Now, if I'm here, I'm not going to see everything. So I want to just get kind of to the highest point that gives me kind of everything I need to see, and let's go with that. So now we're going to just start drawing geometry just like you would in any CAD system. Kind of the difference is we're using the scan data kind of as a guide, but yet at the same time, we're going to want to make things flat and parallel and perpendicular. So we're going to want to follow, good CAD techniques as we build this, because manufactured parts are never completely flat and holes aren't round and things aren't perpendicular like they should be. Let's see, let's go ahead and finish our line. So we'll put a line here. And the way I tend to model is I don't draw in the radii. I will put those in later unless they're large. You'll see that here in a minute. So now we're going to start adding our arcs. So we're going to do some 3-point arcs. Now you can dimensionally drive this. For example, as I get this close here, and it's 261.5. If I wanted it to be 262, I could type that in if I've got known values that I want to use. For this demo, I'm not going to bother doing that too much. I'm just going to get it close. Okay, so there's kind of all of our main features, and now we'll go ahead and start trimming things up and creating the corners. So once we get that done, we can end our sketch. And what this actually becomes in Spaceclaim is a surface. So it's a little different. It's not true history tree modeling, or I should really say sketch-driven modeling. It's a little different. This will make more sense as we move along. But you can see that plane is just wherever, or sorry, that surface, which is really compromised of those sketches, is just wherever we had it. So when we pick that plane. So what I'm going to do now is what's called the pull tool, and you can kind of think of that as extruding. And I am going to extrude this surface here, and we're going to go up to a face, and then I'm going to go under my selection tools here, and I'm going to pick faceted bodies, and we're going to pick that bottom, and you can see what it's done. Okay. Now, where do we put the top? Okay, so if we hide the solid for a second here, it was just kind of wherever. So we're going to move that face, and I believe these two are the same. So same thing again with the pull tool. We're going to pick the face that we want to, and then move, and then up to, and let's make sure our faceted bodies is picked, and we'll pick right there. So that'll give us our initial kind of block to work from. And then, so let's start chipping away at some of the stuff. Okay, so what do we do next? So let's turn this off for a minute. I would say let's cut away this shape here, and then we can cut away, this shape, and then start building up some of this stuff. Or actually, maybe we work on the bottom first. Let's take a look. Yeah, so maybe we do the bottom first. I think that's pretty easy. So again, there's our solid body. And I'll actually we'll select this face, and when we bring on our sketch plane, it'll come on right there. But again, if I want to move it and kind of sample into let's turn off our solid, sample into that scan data, we need to be about right there. Look head on, and we'll go ahead and take that, okay? So for this chop away, I think we can just do a giant circle. So let's go ahead and do a 3-point circle. And we'll pick there, there, and there. And we can end that sketch. All right, so we're going to use the pull tool again. We're going to pick this surface. Now this time we're going to want to cut. And in this case, I'm just going to drag it down, and you're going to see it cut it away. Okay. Now, here's where Spaceclaim is really different. So we cut it away in the one direction, but it's not right in the other direction, right? You can see here we've got more material, but that surface is gone because this is all now part of the same solid. But what's really neat about Spaceclaim is I can still pick that surface. I still want to cut, and I want to go up to, and I'm going to pick faceted bodies, and I'm just going to highlight over here somewhere, and you can see what it's done. So we can pick individual faces and pull them around. We can pick edges, corners. You'll see as we go along. It's really slick. So you're using sketches, but you can see that once the sketch goes away, you're going to just manipulate the features, okay? So we need to do the same thing down here on this one, and we'll do the same thing. We'll do a circle again, maybe. Actually, let me look here. And so we'll go ahead and select that face, go into our sketch mode. Let's hide our solid body and kind of figure out where we want to cut that. We'll say that looks good. Now for this one, we want to make sure that we are, turn the facets off for a minute. This is the edge of the solid, so we're going to actually extract some of these lines. Let me turn the facets back on for a minute. Because you can see like this extends into here. This should make sense here in a second. So what we're going to do is use the project command, and it's going to pick that edge, basically give us that edge off the scan data, off the solid body right there. And then let's go ahead and do a 3-point arc, kind of fit that. And again, you can see the data is not very straight. And maybe for here, we're going to go ahead and just draw. This will make sense in a second here. Just draw some geometry. Out, let's say here. Let's see how that works. All right, so we're going to delete that piece. Let's create these corners. Like so, okay? And we'll say done. Okay, and now We're going to use that pull tool again on that surface. We are going to cut. We're going to go up to a face, up to this face here. Okay, now what's interesting is you see how we ended up with this little piece? It's because we didn't go in the other direction. So let's try undoing that. I'll explain. Okay, so okay, so my selection tool, let's go back to Smart Selection. So we're going to cut it this time. We're going to go in both directions. We're going to go up to that face. Turn off the Smart, so I'm just picking the scan data, and there we go. So that way it went in two directions and gave us what we wanted. Okay. Now let's show this just so you can see some of the things you can do. So we kind of made this a straight corner here, but we know by looking at the scan data it's actually a filleted corner, right? So what's really neat, and actually let's turn the scan data on, is I can, using that same pull tool, set our Smart Selection back. That just controls what we can select. So I'm going to pick these two edges, and now watch what happens. So now I can just move this in and out and put a radius on there, okay? So it's pretty slick. Okay. So we've got, let's take a look at what we have so far. So we have main body, we got the first cut, and then the second cut. Same thing here. If we want to put a radius, we're still in that pull tool. We just grab it. Now we can key in a value if we want, or we can just put, anything. So let's say we want to make it 4. But again, at any time, I can just click on it and make it bigger, smaller. Okay, so we'll put a few of the bigger radiuses in for now. Okay, so far, that's what we have. Okay, so moving along, let's turn off our solid body. We've got kind of 2 layers of cuts here. I'm going to do this bigger one first, and then we'll come back and cut the circle out. I think that'll just be easier. So once again, I'll bring on my solid body. Just select one of the faces, hit sketch. It's automatically going to put it on that face. And let's go ahead and turn off our solid so we can see what we're cutting through. And I want to get in right there. And we're going to build this sketch here. I want my solid back for a minute because, again, I want to extract, or do I need to? Let me look. No, I guess I really don't need to because it's all going to get cut away. So let's hide that solid. We'll just keep the mesh on. So let's go here. We're going to do a 3-point arc. Oh, wrong command. 3-point arc from there to there to there. Same thing here to here to there. I'll fillet that one in. So I believe the rest is going to be lines. So let's just draw one here to here, here. And if it's kind of snagging on something, you can just tab over and type in what you want. Okay, and then right up here, there. And we'll just close this up because, again, we're going to cut this away. It doesn't really matter. We can just put anything we want. Okay, then let's close up our corners. Now I'm going to close the corners first, and then I'll put in some of these radii. So if I close the corner, I have more control, and now I can just kind of fit. And again, all of these you can type something in. You can change it if you don't like it. Pretty standard stuff. But let's go ahead and fit at least the larger radiuses in here. We'll do these now. Okay. Looks good. We exit this. Oh, one more there. Need to close up. There we go. Okay, so So, because I went back and edited it, I just hit the fill command and it just closes it back up as a surface. So there's our surface. And once again, it's not right at the bottom because we moved it up to cut through, but that's okay. So bring back our solid. And we'll do this one in 2 steps because it may not be able to do it in one. So if I just, a quick one here is just, oops, give it the cut modifier and then just pull it up and that'll cut it away. But again, we know it's not right in the other direction, so we pick it again. We're going to cut. We're going to go up 2 and just pick on there. There we go. So there's our next profile. That looks good. All right, so let's go ahead now and do that circle. We'll start here. Hide our solid for a minute. Move this down so we're right on there. Hit OK. This one will be a 3-point circle again. Bring our solid body back and pull command. Gonna cut away, cut that up, pick it again, negative, up 2. There we go. So you can see it's pretty quick to do modeling in Spaceclaim. So that's that. Now the next, we got a couple trickier ones. So we've got this one here is going to take a little bit to model. And then this is kind of interesting because we've got this cutout in here. So do we want to model the whole thing and then try to cut this back? I guess it really doesn't matter. I think it makes more sense to model all the way up to this height and then cut it back. So let's try that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and speed the video up here because it's kind of more of the same as far as the sketching goes. So again, we're going to set our sketch plane depth right there. And then the first thing we're going to do is extract some of the edges off the solid bodies that we've already created. And then use those to trim to. And the reason you want to do that is that way when you extrude it up, everything lines up with the existing solid body. So again, we want to make all our lines, parallel, perpendicular, straight, tangent, whatever it may be, because we want to go back to the as designed model. We're scanning a manufactured part that you can see in some areas, it's just old and beat up. And we don't want to follow that. So we're going to make everything back to, the original design intent. So again, just building all the sketches like you see here. It's going to get a little bit tedious. And trying to kind of figure out where everything should go. Especially here with that circle. Do we want to build that in? There's a little bit of a jog to it there. So, these are the kind of decisions you need to make as you reverse engineer something. Is again just trying to figure out what was the intent, what were they trying to do, and maybe just make changes. You don't have to follow this exact. If you don't like it or you want to move the location of some of these ribs, they're probably for strength or something, you can do that. You don't have to follow it exactly. So that's one nice thing is you can make changes to it. So just a few more things here to trim up, and then we'll have this sketch all done. And we'll put in some of the radiuses later. There we go. So what we should have is that surface there. And we're going to move it up and down. Okay, so let's start. We'll go ahead and move it down. So we're in the pull tool here. Let's hide the mesh for a minute. So we'll go ahead and go down to this surface there. That's pretty straightforward. Then we're going to pick this and go up to, turn on our facets, select facets only, and click up to there. There we go. All right, so I want to show you, so for the middle, the cutting out the middle, I want to show you kind of a neat feature. So we'll do that next here. So for this inside cylinder here, now I could certainly go and do another sketch like I've done before, but I thought we'd do something a little different this time, just to kind of show the power of the system. So I'm going to double click here on the mesh, and I'm going to expand. This will expand or contract the selection area. So you can see I've pretty much got this whole area, and then I'm going to fit a cylinder through it. Okay, and let me do this real quick. Let's just pull this up so it's sticking out a little bit. Now, the only issue I have is I don't know that that cylinder is centered on this cylinder, and I don't even know if it's in the same axis, because these walls have draft and it's a rough cast part. They may not be concentric and in the same, have the same axis. So what I'll do is this. I'm going to rotate this. I'm going to exaggerate it. Let's say it fit like that. So obviously that isn't right. So I want to show you some of the neat things you can do with the Move tool. So we're going to select the part again. And I'm going to take this guy here and drag it down. You can see it's going to line it with the bottom of it. And then what I'm going to do is pick this axis here. And I'm going to say align to that face, okay? So what that's done is that's put those in the same alignment, okay? But you notice it's not, it's no longer centered. So to do that, I'm going to pick this and pick that, and now it's centered, okay? So that's just a nice, there's some really nice tools to be able to move geometry around. Now, the bottom of this cylinder, I don't know if it's in the right spot, so I can hold my control key and filter up. Let's go to the pull tool now, and I can use and roll around till I get to what I want. I'm going to say do not merge and move up to this bottom surface, okay? So now we've got that where we want it, and I didn't merge it because now I actually want to cut it away. So I'm going to pick the main body, pick the piece I want to cut out, and get rid of that piece there. And now if I hide that solid, you can see. So was this faster than just creating a sketch? Maybe, maybe not. But it allowed me to quickly make sure that these two circles are concentric and everything's lined up. So that's just one of the really nice features of the Move tool. All right, next we're going to work on this area over here. And what I'll do is make it translucent just so we can kind of see what's going on. So we've got this cutaway here that goes all the way to the bottom, and then this here area here is cut off. So probably the best thing to do is pick this surface here, jump into our sketch mode, and we're going to move this down. We want to get down in this area here because we're going to start and cut this from the bottom and then trim off the top. I think that's going to be the best way to do this. So let's drive a 3-point circle first. And then it looks like we need like a square line here. And then another circle here, or we can do an arc. And let's select this end and just kind of pull it. It just kind of helps with the trimming. Trim this corner to here, this corner to there, corner to there. Okay. So that looks pretty good. And once again, we're going to pick this guy there. We will, let's just not merge it. Move it up out first, just so we get it above the part. And then select that bottom. This time we will cut it. We will go up to a face. And we will go to the faceted body. And pick right there. All right. And now we can go ahead and combine. Pick this, pick that, get rid of that piece in there. And if we hide that block, there we go. All right, let's turn that back to it's still in that command. Turn that back to solid. Just easier to work with. Okay, so we're getting close here. Next one up, we can start this one as well up here. Sketch mode. Pull it down. And I don't think it really matters where we go. Let's go about right there should be good. And again, for this one, we're going to want to extract the edge here. And I think the rest of it we can just, let's draw a line here. That'll end up getting radiused off later. I'll just draw that right there. And I think we just need it to go bigger than this circle. Okay, and then let's trim this all up. So here to here, here to there. I think that's everything. And all right, so now let's move this to, well, we'll go ahead and pull it up first. Just give it some arbitrary thickness. But when we do that, let's do that again. When we go to move it up, we have to say no merge, because we need to get the bottom where it needs to be. So we're going to pick that, and we're going to go up to hide this one, back down here. A little bit hard to see, but I believe it's right there. Let's go back to that translucent mode. Yep, we're right there. Okay. So there we go. We've got our block where we need it. And once again, we'll do our combine command. This one, we're going to cut with this one. And we want to get rid of that piece there. All right, just a few more. We've got a few more holes, and got to move this face over here. So, okay, so if you look here, we had modeled this feature all at this height here. But if we zoom in, we can see it actually drops down in this area here. So I'm going to show you kind of a neat trick to deal with that. So let's go, and we're going to pick on here. We're going to go into sketch mode, and we'll look at it from the top down. And then I'm just going to come in here and draw a line from this corner to that corner. And now what I can do is, using that pole tool, pick on that, up to the facets there, and you can see what it's done. Let's hide the mesh, put our solid back like you can see it there. So you can see what it's done. So that's pretty slick. We easily manipulate the 3D file just by breaking that, and you can see what we've done. Okay, so a very slick tool. So we'll go ahead and speed up the video again here just to put in these final holes, and then we'll show some of the filleting at the end. So for this, it's it's not a hole; it's actually an ellipse, and you can see there we just add that one. Again, we'll use the pull tool. We'll go in 2 directions and cut that away. So that's pretty easy. And then we'll do this last hole here. Same thing, create our sketch, move it down so we're down in the hole, and just fit a 3-point circle. And again, once again, we'll use the cut, pull in both directions, and cut it away. So that does all of the circles. And lastly, we're going to get this little feature here. So again, we'll just create some geometry. Start with a circle, then we'll do some tangent lines. This is a nice command because you can just pick and it automatically makes a tangent. Close it up, trim it. We don't care where the bottom goes because it's going to be inside the part. Now we'll go ahead and just pull this all the way through and pick the other side so it'll automatically make it. And we just need to pull this side out so it matches there. And then what we'll do is we'll go back and use that cylinder we had from before, and we'll use that to just go ahead and cut away the wall and just keep that, and then we'll just merge those 2 pieces together and we've got it. So that takes care of most of the features. And then last, what we'll do is create the circle, and what we'll do is we'll go back, turn on the CAD so we can find where that center point is. So we'll go ahead and extract that from the other side, line that up, then we don't need that anymore, but that'll make sure that that circle is concentric, and we'll pull it all the way through, and that's looking pretty good. And then finally we've got these 3 holes over here. They're all holes, they just weren't scanned very well. We kind of missed them when we scanned it, so when we kind of closed up the STL file, it made them not round, but they're supposed to be round. So you can see that, and cut those away. So one thing you might notice here is when I pulled this cylinder, I wasn't really paying attention. I pulled it too far, and you can see I cut away in this area here. Well, one of the things I can do is just select that area, pick here, here, hit the fill command, and basically it's going to just delete it and fill it in. Okay, so if we take a look at this, I think that's all the major features. Let's bring our mesh back on, and we can look at it and say, yeah, that looks pretty good. Now, I'm going to come up here to this corner, and let's go back to that translucent mode. So I want to show you some of the other things we can do. So you can see we just had kind of trimmed that off, and we can certainly just come in here with the pull tool, grab this corner, and build a radius. And that doesn't look too bad, but I want to just show you what else you can do. Let's just get rid of that for a sec. So I could pick this face, go to the move tool, and not only can I move it in and out, but what I can also do is pick on an edge and then rotate, and you can see what it does. So I can adjust this to get it maybe a little more perpendicular before I create the fillets. So now back to the pull tool, and now I'll come in and put in some of these radii. So it's just pretty cool. You can manipulate it many different ways. So there's another large radius here on this edge. So let's take care of that with this and this, and you can see we'll get that till it's just kind of showing through. And then there's lots of little radiuses to put on here. It's pretty redundant. Come in here and Pick this one. And again, you can see if we didn't like the way that sketch is, we could move, we could move this whole face if we want. But we're trying to keep things lined up in concentric. And this part is obviously, pretty rough in that sense. So that's really about it. The rest is just throwing on some fillets. Let's go back to our solid view. The last thing we'll do, turn this back to a solid view, is we'll run an accuracy analyzer on it just to kind of see how, we know there's big differences. But let's go ahead and go under measure, pick this. We're going to pick our body and pick the mesh data, and it's going to compare the two, and we'll get a color map and at least just see what we how things look from an accuracy standpoint. And we can adjust the tolerance. Let's say our tolerance is 1 millimeter. You can see things will turn more green. If it was 0.25, we might start seeing some more red. So this will just give us a good indication of how accurate our part is. And I'd say overall it looks really good. We didn't put draft by design in the part. We didn't put in all the radii, but other than that, this kind of just shows you our part is flat in these areas, but the cast part, the manufactured part was not. But overall, I'd say this looks pretty good. So that's a wrap up of using Spaceclaim for reverse engineering from 3D scan data.